Welcome back. We are excited to get another academic year. I can't see out because I'm sweating, but I can see it this way. So, so if you're cold in here right now, it's because of maintenance being on the roof, taking care of our facilities, which they've done a fabulous job over the summer. Thank you for the job that they do. But we're here. We're going to talk a little bit about where we are, what's changed, where we're going over the next 45, 50, 60 minutes. Just kidding. We won't take that long. We want to talk about our celebrations, but we also need to talk about our challenges. And let's be open and honest about where we are. So we want to give you that snapshot. I want to do that. Before we really talk about any of our numbers, want to point out because we have had some change. So if you have been here less than a full year, please stand real quick. Let's recognize all of our new hires. I didn't get a list of everybody to read off everybody's name, but I want to point out a few. And I'm just going to start off actually with our executive council. Cassandra Miller is our new vice president for fiscal affairs. Welcome. Director level and above, and so back in the far back, I believe, is Scott Grigsby, director of fiscal plant maintenance. And so some of these other names may are not new to NEO, but have new roles. Interim director and department chair for our nursing program, Malene Froman. I don't think I see John Littlefield, but Ag Department Chair John Littlefield, 1989 graduate of NEO, so we're glad to have him back. And then some of our head coaches. Soccer was meant to go to, I was just told soccer had a scrimmages last night at Neosho, Missouri against Crowder, but due to the heat, they were not able to play. And so they're there this morning rescheduling that. But we have an interim head coach of soccer, Tyler Douthit, men's soccer. And then also head coach, again, not new to NEO, but Coach Tisha Abel, our cheer coach, yeah. And then for our new folks, I just simply introduced the rest of the executive team. Dr. Dustin Grover, Vice President for Academic Affairs. Amy Ishmael, Vice President of Everything Else. Executive Director for Development and Everything Else on that side of the house, Ryan Orchid. And I previously mentioned Cassandra, and so we've got a great leadership team, and obviously we got a lot of work ahead of us. Cohesiveness is there, and obviously as we get into this presentation, you'll know that we've got a lot of work ahead of us, not only as a leadership team, but as an institution as a whole. And so really, before we get into the really PowerPoint presentation, just want to reemphasize our mission. Our mission's about opportunity, and you're going to hear mission, mission, mission over the next several days, weeks, and months leading up to that. And so for many of our students, it's our commitment to them. It's an opportunity for them that they may or may not have. Learning, service, and leadership continue to guide and should guide the work that we do as we are here as an institution. And so as we move into the true state of the college, I think that what I want to accomplish is celebrate some of our progresses, give you a clear picture of where we are today, talk about some of our challenges that we face in Oklahoma higher education, and discuss what those changes mean for us during the upcoming year. As you pause and celebrate some of our successes, I would just these photos represent story and talking points for me, so I don't look down. I'm a photographic type of guy, and so first off, this year, we announced it a couple years ago, but we have some community partners that have partnered with NEO along with GRDA, and we're in the process of selecting our first student that will go into our nursing program as a guaranteed admission. So typically, most students apply for the nursing program in their going into their first year to get into their second year. But through this program, through academic scoring, a student will jump into this program and will receive through this scholarship up to $10,000 a year for the next 3 years. They will live on campus, and ultimately go back to the community that is embracing them. And this student is actually from this community. More of information will be coming about that, but we also have a commitment from GRDA to expand to the other locations that they serve across northeastern Oklahoma. And so I'm excited about this. This is an opportunity to take an income restricted student that may not have the means to be able to go to college, and we are giving them an assistance to help them come and achieve their dreams and ultimately go back and serve their local communities. And so more will be said about that. So it's a great program, and we appreciate our partnership. Knowledge is power. That was definitely not me, the creative one, so I'll give Ryan some credit there. Speaking of Ryan, transition to the next slide. That is the NEO Gala. We had the best participation as it relates to financial contributions this past year, $155,000 raised, which was a record for the second year in a row. And we obviously hope that we'll have great success to support student scholarships. And I think there's going to be conversations with the foundation here in the next couple of weeks as it relates to how do we deploy those scholarships to achieve our goals as we talk forward. Now, this last picture, you may have not, going again left to right on the top row, you may not fully understand what that is, but Buddy Lambert should know what that means. Those are security cameras. We have revised and updated all of our security cameras all across campus. That's been something that has been a concern for several years, and we're very fortunate to have been able to do that this past year. And obviously, sometimes it prevents things, but it also helps us go back and find the culprits. In fact, we had some culprits this summer that broke into some of our renovated areas, and through the use of these cameras, we were able to track down and have some good photos of that. So, state of Oklahoma, bottom left-hand corner. Never forget, the largest annual donor to Northeastern Oklahoma A&M College is the state of Oklahoma, to a tune of, you'll see it here in a little bit, a little over $7 million. And also this past year, we had $2 million in deferred maintenance to help us update this old and in some aspects, much needed renovations need to take place on this campus. And so be sure you thank our legislators for their investment in Oklahoma higher education. And we'll talk about some of those as we go through. Next photo is the most important day on campus, in my opinion. It's just graduation. We had one of the largest participations of graduation this past year due to some support from email support to reach out and touch students. But more than 400 students graduated this past year, which has been the largest class in several years. And so kudos to each and every one of you all that are a part of that. The last photo really is, if you've seen these just come up in the last couple of days. These are our wayfinding signs, if you will. 6, 5, 6, how many are? 5 of those across campus. We thank and this is a reminder that external funding helps us in lots of different ways, because this is funded through our higher education, preventative services grant. I had to get it right, I had to write it down a while ago. And so we think they add a lot of color to our campus. They're very bright, and you will see that those are here all across campus. So speaking of campuses enhancements, here are 2 logos on the top right and bottom left. Are institutions that are truly committed to our success. And first is the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma and the Wyandotte Tribe of Oklahoma, people that are truly invested in the work that you all are doing. We're proud to say that I believe there's 10 new AEDs across campus that have been installed thanks to the Cherokee Nation. Water bottle fountain stations have been installed in the water bottle filling stations have been installed into our residential halls. I believe 10 of locations there. Bottom left-hand corner, athletics, because of the Cherokee and the Wyandottes, have a new weight room that has been equipped, and so we appreciate that. Also, a wellness grant to put new equipment into our wellness center. And again, things that would not be possible without external funding partners. And so, and I would simply say, as we go through some of these other slides, you'll see the success that we've had. So I want to stop right there and just simply say, who is it that we really serve? Who is our students? So this is a snapshot from last fall, just to kind of help you understand. So we serve traditional students, but we cannot miss the fact that we actually serve adult students as well. And now, while we remain deeply local, you'll see with our states and countries that we are far extended well beyond northeastern Oklahoma, which is pretty important for us to keep in mind. As it relates to who our students are, affordability remains a top priority. Obviously, students living on campus is important for us to understand. Income restricted students as it relates to financial aid. And then Oklahoma's promise is important to the students that we serve here. And then obviously a snapshot as it relates to the academic majors, top academic majors here on campus. And the last bottom thing I would say, point out on economic impact, is we have directly and indirectly about a little over $80 million economic impact because of this institution. So for every dollar invested in NEO, there's $10.52 in economic output. And so we're not just educating students, we're also an economic engine for this part of the state. Taking a snapshot of enrollment real quick. So obviously this kind of gives you the lay of the land of what we have been dealing with. You can see the decline, and obviously you can see the uptick. And then this past year, we were actually about a little less than 2% shy of credit hour production. This is all student credit hour production. So external public really focuses in on head count because that's what translates. But from a financial standpoint, student credit hour production is where we are. So you can see the slide, and then obviously the great work that's been taking place over the last couple of years. And so we have seen that softening a little bit this past year, and there's a little additional pressures as it relates to this upcoming fall. And so we'll talk about that here shortly as we transition. So here's a quick snapshot. So as of this morning, we are down in credit hour production. That's the bottom left-hand number. Again, head count helps everybody understand where we are. We're down about 10% on head count. We're down 8% in student credit hour production. And so as you look at the individual numbers, we're approximately down 16% in, where did they go? I just quit looking at my script. 16% in new freshmen. Obviously, I think the thing that we've had a lot of conversations about concurrent enrollment. I think that has to do with price. And I would simply say that many of you all heard me talk this past year about wanting to really review how we structure our tuition and fees, and kind of was prepared to do some adjustments on our fees this past year, but the environment was not right at the state level. And so our board was on board to do that. It sounds awkward to say that, but they were agreeable to help do that adjustment, but at the state regents level, we did not. And so I think that's a conversation that will continue this fall. Readmit transfer numbers obviously are good, and I would simply say that there's some softening as it relates to our continuing enrollment, but it's relatively stable. And so again, as we embark on what we want to do this upcoming year, we're not satisfied and where we are as it relates to the numbers. And I think this is where you've heard me every year talk about every student matters. And I think that's important. This is not the responsibility of a department. In fact, I do not see that department or admissions or financial aid for the most part in here because they're back over there serving students. We all recruit, we all retain. Every interaction with a prospective student or family shapes their perception of NEO. And I think that the same is true after they enroll. And so every interaction gives a student a reason to come here, or potentially that interaction gives them a reason to leave. In our highly competitive marketplace, we've got to continue to remember ourselves that every student matters. And so let me pause with that real quick. Friday night, I get to go to events all the time to go fundraisers. And so Friday night, I was in Tulsa. I had conflicting places to be, but I was in Tulsa. And that night, again, I wear the hat. I wear the colors brightly every day, everywhere I go. And that night, I talked to two families that will be on campus this fall because of that interaction. And they're thinking about it, but the fact that I interacted with them, and so Braylon is our new livestock judging coach, and I didn't coach. I didn't say Braylon Spears because he's a head coach too, and I failed to introduce you. Stand up real quick. I'll pause and get off Braylon Spears. He's a part of this conversation. That's why his name just dawned on me, so I apologize for that. So I'm there, and the family that I'm speaking with, I can't use names, but they're lifelong Connor State College folks. Lifelong. Dad was on faculty there many, many, many years. And quite frankly, he and I have a great rapport. But anytime that we go to a public event and he's emceeing it, he despises NEO so much, he'll say, "There's Dr. Stafford, that president from that college up north." He will not say Northeastern Oklahoma A&M College. So he calls me at this event on Friday night, and he said, Stafford, where are you? And I said, and I see him, I'm on the front row. He's about halfway, he's in the back half of the room. And I said, well, I am where NEO people are. We're on the front row, not in the back half of the place. And he's like, you sorry son of a, and he's cussing. And he goes, would you come back here? And I said, absolutely. Is this your granddaughter? And he goes, absolutely. I said, well, pleasure to meet you, young lady. I've heard nothing but great things about you. And I do the presidential thing. Braylon's name comes up in the conversation, so you know she's related with livestock judging. And this girl has bought NEO gear for her Christmas present this past year, which goes, and so my point is he's already started the relationship. I just reinforced the relationship. They'll be on campus this fall. Another conversation that night was the State Director of Career Tech, Brent Haken, is a good friend of mine. And at some point he calls me over to introduce me to his wife and says, my daughter's thinking about, wants to go to vet school, and we want her to go to the two-year college route. And I was a ag instructor, principal for many years and brought kids over to NEO. And NEO is exactly the place and type of place that I want my student, my Emma, to go to. And so he and I had a conversation yesterday, and she too will be on campus this fall. And so the last part of that is ran into former Norseman, and if you follow me on social media, you'll see some photos. There's 3 Hartons on there, 2 of which are NEO products. Ironically, in conversation, like many students, they'll be here for 3 semesters and then leave. And so Joe Harton was on the 86 team and left after 3 semesters. And so at this point this fall, some point this fall, we will have a reverse transfer for Joe Harton. And so I say all that is our work never stops. When you leave here, wear your NEO stuff, tell the great things that are happening, because every student does matter. So I do believe that just did not do what it was supposed to do. Again, I think I've said it already, I'll say it again, competitive advantages. It's really hard to put our competitive advantages into a spreadsheet. It's really hard. We are a residential relationship institution. We are here at a place where students know their faculty, their staff, their coaches by name. Small interactions do matter. Students who feel that they belong are more likely to stay here. And this is not the work of student affairs. Every one of us have a responsibility that we can become and help those students as they're here. And so we may not be able to outspend competition as it relates to recruiting them. We may not have the tip-top best facilities, but this does not cost us anything more, and we can out-relationship them, and that means personal relationships. As we slide into Oklahoma higher education, what's changing? What's our dynamics that are happening across the state of Oklahoma? Funding formula in Oklahoma, I think, changed in 2012, and there was no punishment as it relates to your numbers on your success rates. Well, in May of 2026, so just a few short months ago, I'm not stable on that leg yet. A few short months ago, the state regents passed a new funding formula. And so here's a snapshot, if you will, of the funding formula, and I'll give you a little bit more context to what these buckets are. But if you look quickly, 75% of these buckets don't necessarily relate to enrollment. You talk about retention and success, and so that's transfers, it's completion rates that are a part of that. As you move into opportunity, the opportunity bucket is really related to, I would say, marginal students, potentially Pell students, academically underprepared students, adult students, or how they do in classes is regarding the opportunity. And then lastly, it becomes workforce. What are we doing as it relates to our graduates that are graduating from here and going straight into the workforce? And I might point out, I elaborated much more at our summer retreat. Dr. Grover also helped with this presentation. But here's what I would simply say. There's some things that go against us that we're not going to be able to change. 1919, we were founded in Miami, Oklahoma, 12 miles from Kansas, 15 miles from Missouri, and however many miles from Arkansas. And so when we graduate students at workforce and they go across the state line, we're not getting credit for them. And so when you talk about transfer rates, meaning they transfer from here and go on to a four-year institution, we're not getting credit for that Missouri Southern or that Pitt State student or the University of Arkansas student. And so those are things that we're not going to be able to change overnight. So we're really zeroing in on what we're doing in our retention success rates. There's some Norse navigators on campus this fall that we're excited about, but obviously that's just a step in the right direction, because I think there's more work as it relates to having intentional interactions with our students so that we can get better as it relates to this funding formula. So here's what it means. And that slide didn't change. That's not projected, that's realized. So realized first year impact, 1.4%. And so we are not competing against the comprehensive institutions. We're not competing against regional institutions. We are competing against two-year colleges across the state of Oklahoma as it relates to this new funding formula. And so this year, our cut would have been $116,000-ish. There was some change that went along with that. But the state regents held us harmless because, again, they made a decision on May 26th and then turned around and put it into our budget as it relates to our fiscal year 27 budget. So as a whole, again, state appropriations, 100% of the bucket, only 25% of the funds are going to go through this funding formula. Only 25%. So 75% means our base is in place. Now we're trying to figure out how can we be better. Obviously, enrollment's not alone, so we've got to talk about the things that I previously mentioned: retention, completion, transfer, and workforce outcomes. Again, some things that we can do and some things that we can't, but no more than 2% each year will go through this formula. So let's say that we bombed everything. Our maximum would have been a 2% reduction, which probably would have been still less than $200,000. Does that make sense? Again, so a lot of our work this upcoming year will be around these buckets. What can we do to influence? How do we recruit and retain these students? Ultimately get them jobs, get them transfers, but again, never losing sight of who we serve. And I think that's why the bucket, it doesn't include us competing against regional universities, because we have a lot of high-risk, income-restricted students that are in our population. So we're competing against two-year colleges across the state of Oklahoma. And again, I think it's only important for me to continue to go back to what I'm saying, what I've said already. Oklahoma higher education funding is changing, and we think that every student is important, and every one of us have a role. A student who feels seen is more likely to return. A student receives help when struggling is more likely to persist. A student who completes a credential or graduates changes his or her life and their trajectory. And so their success has now become our success rather than their story is our story. Here's a snapshot of what state funding looked like this last year, just to kind of give you, again, $7.7 million. Again, state of Oklahoma is the largest donor to Northeastern Oklahoma A&M College. They didn't give us any more money this year. That's a flat appropriation. As I mentioned, there's the change of $776 that are part of the one-time payment as it relates to the funding formula. The funding for STEM continues to be in our budget. Concurrent enrollment, in the state of Oklahoma, we get this money a year in the rear. So this is last year based upon our concurrent enrollment. And then Section 13 offset is our capital fund. And I can tell you this capital fund, when I first got here, I think was $477,000 a year. Through advocacy, through our legislature, we got it to 700 and some change. And then Kevin Wallace, former chair of appropriations, helped get it to $1 million. And I say all that to say, unfortunately, this is for help for deferred maintenance cost. I've not taken out any new debt since we've been here. That's not a true statement. True statement is I have taken out $15,000. How much do we pay for laptops? $40,000. And so I think we pay $15,000 in new debt for 3 years. That's the only debt that I've taken out of. And we're using this money, $800,000 of it is paying debt that had been accumulated prior to this. And so this has saved our bacon over the last several years. So we built the budget. This was not a year to raise tuition, but here we are. We built a deficit budget, and I'll get into this particulars here in just a little bit, $19.4 million when you talk about the budget side of things, because it's an expense, not a revenue. Auxiliary, $9.6 million, but you will see that we've gotten out of the red building our budgets in auxiliary. So total E&G auxiliary budgets to $29 million. And so here's the breakdown. Now I just flipped. I talked about expenses, now I'm talking about revenues. And so what's different between that $29 million that I just showed you to $30.1 million is E&G budget part 2, which is our grants and sponsored programs. And so that's where the new revenues come into the upward bound services, student support services, and other grant programs. So when people ask you, how much is the state contributing? Again, never lose sight that they're our largest donor, but they're only contributing 27% of our overall revenues. And so that means 87, 88% of our funds come from our students. So while the funding formula has changed, I'm simply saying that enrollment still remains critical to what we do each and every day. There's a snapshot as it relates to our cash, currently $8.89 million in operating funds. The breakdown there, I can tell you that that has changed obviously since June 30th. Capital expenditures, some of the programs that we'll continue to celebrate here in a little bit, that has depleted that, but we are still in a great place. We did not raise tuition and fees this year. And again, as I talked about earlier, I wanted to change the fee structure. That was not the appetite to do that. And quite frankly, the appetite was not to raise tuition and fees this year for people that receive Mackenzie Scott funds. And I'll talk about her here in a little bit. And so the total impact to a student this next year, $148 if they live on campus, and that was a pass-through as it relates to Sodexo. Let's celebrate the improvements. And so this is where we used our capital funds, the $2.2 million that we received for this past fiscal year. Obviously, we got slapped on the hands a few times this past year because we were hoarding those monies until this project could start, which is obviously not until when students can leave. And so Dobson Harrell, obviously we won't be able to go through there because that has become living quarters for our ladies. But those that have had a glimpse of inside that facility, the restrooms are phenomenal and long overdue, long overdue. And so obviously this could have been a couple $100,000 project, but when you have a building that's nearly 60 years old, it was plumbing as well. And so as a part of this project, we were able to not cut corners. Typically in higher education construction, I've got a friend, another institution that says that they thought they were going to build a $11 million facility. It's come back at $16 million. And so what do? You cut, you start cutting. That's just what higher education does. We kept the course. We didn't engineer it anything less. In fact, we added on to it and we did the hallways, painted the hallways, put LVT down in the hallways, in the community rooms, and also purchased furniture, but not only for that facility, but for all the residential halls. And so that project did go over budget, but thank you. Keep on buying Amazon cards, and we'll hope and cross that Mackenzie Scott will send us some more money. But we spent about a little over $900,000 to help with that project and the one that's on the next page in the top left-hand corner. And so equipment costs have gone out the roof for our facility, but we're very excited. The galley is going to be open soon. We thought it was last week, but obviously that's what happens with construction. And so we're very excited about this new benefit and offering to our students and to you. And so speaking of which, this is where the plug comes in, Lindsay. And so if you've not met with Lindsay yet in my office at the front or the back, she'll be back here in the back corner. Stop by. She's handing out tickets. She'll give you more specifics. But Sodexo, we've got two turbo chefs in that kitchen, and they need practice before kids get here. And so you are entitled to a free lunch tomorrow, faculty and staff, one item I should say, so if you need more than one, but you will get a free item for faculty tomorrow and lunch. Lindsay can give you more information, staff on Friday. And so we're very proud of this. Obviously we will be proudly brewing Starbucks as soon as the equipment gets here. And so I think I've been told tomorrow, as is the furniture. So if the furniture's not there tomorrow when you go in there, just get it and go find a place in the atrium and sit down. And so we're very fortunate for the partnership with Sodexo because they paid the majority of that project, and we're forever grateful for that. And so what did go over that budget, we were able to use our funding to do that. I've heard this morning, LaShawna Powers just said that the AC in Shipley is working well, too well, which we're not complaining about that. We can improvise because it's when it's too hot that you cannot improvise very well. And so Shipley project obviously was supposed to have been done in June, but that's just how things happen. And so we're thankful for, again, the deferred maintenance funds. Bottom left-hand corner for me is Mary Jane Sidoti Gregg, graduate of here in the 50s. There's a lab over on the first floor of Cunningham Hall that holds her name, but through her private donation to us, we were able to open that the new fountain up this past year, so we're thankful. And then lastly, again, nothing sexy about the bottom right-hand corner as it relates to a parking lot, but it is striped. Thank you to Bill and team for doing that yesterday, I believe. I think they're out of yellow paint, so we got the yellow paint coming in. So I asked him yesterday, what does yellow mean? And he goes, have you not read your student handbook? And I said, no, I have not. So message was your white parking spot if you're faculty and you are staff, and yellow if you're a student. And so Bill was quick to tell me to read my student handbook. Did you ever read it by chance? Okay, good deal. Obviously, this list is not inclusive. There's a lot of other unsexy things as it relates to plumbing. We've had to redo sewer lines in Dyer Hall. We've had to do a lot of other sewer plumbing related to Abel's. There's some new equipment in the cafeteria to supposedly students like the pizza in there. And so you need a good pizza oven that actually continues to work. And so again, facilities matter, folks. Students and families inform or make opinions about NEO before they ever step in the classroom. And so we've got to be intentional as it relates to these gifts that have been given to us to make sure that we can advance this institution, to make it appealing. Again, as I've said already, we're in a very competitive marketplace, and we've got to make sure that we are receptive and responsive to our students. We are behind. We're behind. We've got an old facility. We've been around a long time, and so living and learning environments are a priority, but where somebody lives is extremely important. And so I think the ladies that have stepped into Dobson Harrell are very appreciative of that. So obviously, let's start off with the mission statement, and that's interconnected to what we've got coming up here pretty quick. And March of 27 is a pretty important milestone for this institution. We'll welcome our peer reviewers to campus. Obviously, preparation, a lot of work is underway, and we appreciate everybody that's a part of this planning team, because I know the work is in addition to everything else you do. So thank you for the work that you're doing. But obviously, we'll continue to have opportunities to learn and prepare for this upcoming day. There will be a mock visit in January, which means we're going to have a team come in that simulates what a true site visit looks like, which will give us an opportunity to interact with the team and then learn from that team of what we've said. And we're not, I say we're not, let me back up. This is not just an academic affairs deal. This is an institution-wide process. Dr. Grover just happens to be leading it with a lot of other folks that are a part of this process that are on this committee. And so we're not trying to prepare to be somebody in March that we are who we are not. We're trying to articulate who we are as an institution in March of the good work that we do here on this campus and the work that we do every day. And our ultimate goal is to leave with a clean report with no follow-ups. Wouldn't that be great? It'd be awesome. And so appreciate the work that everybody's doing on that. Obviously, there'll be more announcements as it relates to this upcoming HLC visit. And so as I think to this upcoming academic year, we've got to be responsive to the funding formula. We've got to be responsive to the fact that we flattened off and softened a little bit on our student credit hour production. That means we got to find enrollment drivers. We've got to have conversations about what's working, what's not working, and what can we do to influence not only retention, but also completion. You know, I say explore workforce opportunities. Those are difficult conversations. Our workforce locally, we've got to be cognizant that we get punished if we graduate somebody and they go to work and they go to Joplin or they go to Kansas. And so we need to explore is there something that we can do here locally to enhance our workforce potential. And then, of course, following up with, and I'll simply say, the McKinsey Scott funds, we got to invest strategically. Again, I've talked about facilities. I want to invest in enrollment because if enrollment is going great, we control our destiny. And again, we've got to be responsive to what the funding formula is, but if we grow, we control our own destiny. And I would simply say that these are not 6 unrelated items or topics or priorities. They're all interconnected. Enrollment provides opportunity, retention completion demonstrates success, workforce alignment demonstrates relevance, and investment makes all this work possible. And so as I try to sum all things up here pretty quick, we have an opportunity to invest in what we do best: relationships, residential experience, personal attention, opportunity. And I would simply say these aren't marketing slogans. These are characteristics of who we are as an institution. And we may not, again, I'll repeat what I said earlier, we may not always be able to outspend our competition, but we can out-relationship our competitors. And that's you because of the work that you all do. And so looking ahead, trying to finalize quickly like a good preacher would, another 10 minutes. There's a lot ahead, really is a lot ahead. And so it's HLC preparation. It's the recruitment and retention efforts that I've mentioned a couple of times. We've got a legislative session. I think there's going to be pressure in the legislative session ahead because of Medicaid, Medicare expansion to the states versus the federal level. Still don't know what that looks like. We're in a good, solid position, folks, but to weather the storm because our reserves are strong. Those are not reoccurring. And so we've got to be smart as it relates to what lies ahead. Campus activities are obviously here. Beginning with Thursday night right here. Thank you to the maintenance team that prepped this for the faculty gathering on Monday, turned it over to the county commissioners, had a special meeting here last night. They flipped it again today. They're going to flip it again today to get ready for the PTA ceremony. Move-in day on Saturday. Obviously, we want you to get involved. Our campus culture depends on you finding students outside of the classroom. That's who we are, and it's not just students showing up at these events, it's our employees. And so here are some great opportunities to get engaged and be on campus. And I would simply say that I know that we have some challenges. I think we all know that. Enrollment is one of them. And I'll follow up by saying NEO, again, is financially stable. We want to invest where we can. We want to have, I think we have a clear understanding of where we are. But I think most importantly, you care deeply about the work that you do. And we will weather the storm that lies ahead. And I would simply say, but we all recruit, we all retain, we all contribute to our student successes. And I think that is who we are as an institution, and keep that in mind as you interact with people. Lastly, simply say thank you for the work that you do. I thought there was sound in the... I don't hear very well either, and I was like, oh, there's sound to this. I didn't know that, Ryan. It's not a phrase up there, folks. It's who we are. And we've got to make sure that every student that continues to show up lives out their dream. Some of them know it when they get here. Most of them don't. But we're here to empower them to figure out what that dream is and to change their lives. And so their dreams begin here. And I would simply say that's why our work matters the most. And so with that, thank you so much. We've got bright days ahead. Keep the energy. And that was 41 minutes in length. And so I was told by Sodexo that food would be ready if I was short. And they said, we'll even have it ready if you're long. And so I don't know what that was implying. But thank you again so much. With that being said, we're done with this. Sodexo, get ready. We're going to open up the doors. There's lines on both sides to go eat. Obviously, if you've not taken a headshot, I think I'll take one here in a little bit as well. And then don't forget Lindsay to pick up your coupon to try the new galley. So thank you again for the work that you all do. Let's eat. Bon appetit.